The most shocking part of this whole experience, I think, is people in upper administration at the University of Toronto who have no idea who I am. They have no idea what my medical history is, my health history. They have doctor's notes, a nurse from their university, and these people are overriding the recommendations of medical professionals. My name is Sarah, and I am a second-year master's student at the University of Toronto. I first learned about the mandates, it was definitely like summer of 2021, and I kind of knew that something weird was happening. And I think it was August of 2021 when the University of Toronto announced that vaccines were mandatory and that students who weren't would not be allowed on campus. Yeah, so basically when I found out, I got in contact with my doctor immediately because I knew for me, I have a pretty complicated health history, medical history, and I just knew that I wasn't comfortable taking this vaccine. It's not to say that I never would in the future, but at that point, I just knew for me, it wasn't the right choice. And so I got in contact with my doctor, and he was fully in support of my decision, and he wrote me a letter of exemption. And so I thought I was fine. I was like, okay, I've got the letter. Not only that, because my program also required a student placement that required information forms, and I've had all of my other vaccines. I had a nurse from the University of Toronto also sign off on a medical exemption stating that I was exempt from the. So I had two documents by two different medical professionals validating my decision. But essentially what happened was when I submitted the exemption forms, and the exemption forms that the university gave us were really strange. They required students to actually disclose their personal health information and share with the university like what medical conditions they had that validated their decision to be exempt. And I've never seen that before. I've never been required to disclose my personal health information. There's a lot of privacy laws that protect that information because it's private. And so it was very strange. It was very uncomfortable when I saw that that was required, but I was scared because I knew that my education was in jeopardy. So, I spoke with my doctor and I gave him permission to disclose my health history, which he did. And I submitted those forms and they were denied, which was shocking. And so I appealed the decision and I was denied again. So what happened was basically like at any other student that wasn't vaccinated in my situation, I was banned from campus. I couldn't attend any on-campus activity. I couldn't go to the libraries, couldn't do any in-person exams. But I think the worst part of it was that I was prevented from completing my student placement. And that was actually like the most important part of my program for me because you get firsthand experience, and also it saves students a lot of money when they pursue a placement through an institution. So yeah, I was forced to step down from that because of their mandates, which was very disappointing. The most shocking part of this whole experience, I think, is people in upper administration at the University of Toronto who have no idea who I am. They have no idea what my medical history is, my health history. They have doctor's notes, a nurse from their university, and these people are overriding the recommendations of medical professionals. I think that was really one of the most shocking pieces. I would say that the vaccine was definitely not a free choice. For something to be a free choice, you can't have adverse consequences if you choose to refuse it. And this was definitely coercive, in my opinion, because in refusing the vaccine, I was faced with loss of my career, loss of my education, loss of a lot of money. I mean, to me, that's certainly not a free choice. So when I first got denied my exemption, I did email the provost. I don't know if I can say that, but I did email the person who denied me, and I did write them a lengthy letter. I also, in this letter, stated my various rights as outlined by the Ontario Human Rights Commission. I cited various privacy laws. I shared how I felt I was being marginalized and coerced by not being able to attend campus. And Their responses were extremely disappointing. Honestly, I don't remember exactly what they said, but it was like a very generic response. It seemed like it was like a copy paste email, just kind of reiterating that this is their policy and that their policies are in line with the new legislations. It was a very disappointing interaction, and ultimately it was not fruitful. And like I said, I was not given the exemption or accommodations. Well, the truth is, it's definitely tested my character, because I've been placed in a position where am I going to compromise on something that's truly important to me and something that I believe in very strongly, which is, this decision. It's strengthened me internally, even though there's been a lot of persecution. I've lost friends, definitely lost opportunities. An entire career path is now shut to me. But yeah, I have to be honest, I feel stronger inside. Let's say that the university did accept my exemption. I would have been required to do these like self-administered tests anytime I go on campus. And because my placement, I would have been on my placement site probably 2 to 3 times per week. I would have had to test myself at least 2 times per week. I would have been willing to do the testing. But yeah, like I said, that option wasn't available to me. When this happened, I basically shared my experience with everybody in my department. I was asking for help from professors in ethics. Basically anybody that would try to help me, I sought help from. And the university, in my case, did make an exception, and they are allowing me to graduate without a placement, which, yeah, I think that's incredible, that they are helping me in that way. So I will be graduating. It will be without a placement, so I still will have to fund that myself, which will cost me thousands of dollars. In terms of the other students who are in my position who've had to, step out or drop out, if I was in that situation, I would still feel extremely uneasy, because what's to say the university isn't going to re-implement their mandates? They've already stated in their verbiage and their emails that if things change, that they will. So I don't think that gives students in this position a lot of assurance at all. I will say the professors and the department, they haven't said a lot. To be honest, I think a lot of them are afraid. They don't want to lose their jobs. And so they haven't shown overt support, but their support has definitely been felt in the sense that they made this really important exception for me to allow me to graduate without a placement. So do I believe that the government should handle the future in the way that they've handled this one? I mean, based on my experience, I would say absolutely not. It's been a horrible experience for me, and not just for me, for a lot of my loved ones, even for people who have been vaccinated. It's been a horrible experience. This whole issue has been so divisive. Friends, family, people have been just torn apart because of this whole vaccine issue. And I personally believe in large part that is the government is responsible for creating that kind of division. The pandemic has come between myself and my family, which has been very upsetting. And although my family, I know that they love me unconditionally, and that's a blessing, I do think that on some level they judge my decision. They don't understand it, and that's hurtful. And I know there's a lot of other people who don't agree with what I've chosen and who don't understand my position, and it hurts. Yeah, it's unpleasant. But I guess it just is the way it is. Like I said, there are select individuals in positions of authority, certain professors and administrators within my program that I do feel are ethical and who did their best to support me. So that needs to be said. But in terms of the upper administration, I've lost pretty much complete confidence in their ability to be ethical or their desire to be ethical, because they have failed me, and they have failed a lot of other students, and there's been no apology, no attempt to rectify the harm that they have caused. We're all human beings, and we all make mistakes. So if the university were to acknowledge the harm that they caused and to acknowledge that what they did was wrong, and they made a public statement of apology, that would be meaningful. It would be nice as well if they repaid students the money that they've lost. I don't think that they will do that, but yeah, I think an apology, like a heartfelt, sincere apology, is always helpful. So what does Amity mean to me? I think it certainly means listening to each other with an open mind and an open heart. I think it means, to just hear out people who are different than yourself, even if you don't agree with what I've done. At the end of the day, we are all human beings and we all have dignity. We are all worthy of respect. And if someone has a really good reason or very strong belief about something and why they're not doing it or why they are doing it, I think it's important that we listen. And I think justice is also an important part of Amity, because if we do want justice, social justice, it can't be justice for some people and then at the expense of others. That's not justice. It should be justice for all.